best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. But for those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads Radio. Sackheads Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network. To be in compliance with our new overseers of the Banana Republic, we will now officially play the new national anthem for the Banana Republic. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
I was dancing.
I know you were. Welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network. But for how long is really the question.
We'll be shut down soon. Hey, so this is why you wanted us to go to Chevy's tonight for dinner.
Yes.
And bring back the sombreros.
Yes.
Okay.
Just letting you know, we had to. We're so hosed. It's not even funny.
Hey. Look at the big board of topics.
I almost can't.
So,
I haven't been this aggravated in this long. I have not been.
No, I know this, but you forgot to mention the title of tonight's show. The title of tonight's show is, Are You Fucking Kidding Us Right Now? That is literally. Am I lying?
Yeah. No, that is absolutely the title.
As a matter of fact, that on the big board of topics, it has opening and general jackassery as always, and then it says literally, "Are you fucking kidding us right now?" Hence the name of the show. It's going to be a one-segment show.
How did we
tonight?
First of all, 9 p.m. Senator Ted Harvey of the state of Colorado, but he's also the chairman of Stop Hillary PAC, will join us. Couldn't think of a more appropriate guest this evening, considering where we're at. So we're looking forward to the senator coming on talking about Stop Hillary PAC and really getting his feedback. Conservative state senator in charge of this PAC. It's been crazy, and I really want his feedback. But, dude, I put out today on Facebook just a little while ago that Comey was the left hook, Loretta Lynch was the right cross, and the rule of law is down for the count. And maybe I'm wrong, but I have never felt as an American. I know. I can't help it, dude. I've been wanting to complain about this now for 2 days. I have been, if you follow me on social media, if you follow me on Facebook, Agador just said it in the chat room at shrmedia.com, click live chat. He's never seen me post this much before in my life, in the years that he and I have been friends on Facebook. I'm out of my mind. I really am. I am so furious in all of this. I just don't have a filter anymore.
See, I'm in a different place than you.
I know.
I'm
you're
I'm
over
like,
there and I'm over here.
yes,
Of course you're in a different
yes.
place.
No, I'm like,
What?
no.
What?
Look, I'm like, figures. Like, honestly, it figured. Okay, so let's look. First of all, who's doing the investigation? The
Obama.
FBI.
I mean, right. Same person.
Right. We know how competent the FBI is. And we know they're a bunch of douchebags and that they're not real cops. Well, look, we know this. We've said it how many times on this show? So is it really a surprise that the FBI couldn't make a case?
They had a case, and that's the biggest problem with this.
No. Comey had a case, but Comey's not going to be testifying, right? So is this corruption or is this true incompetence? Did Comey come out because, hey, here's the fact pattern, and he really wanted to charge her, but listen, my agents are so incompetent and so mentally just not – I mean, they're college kids with pocket protectors. They don't really know what they're doing, and so there's no way a prosecutor would ever bring this case. Is that possible?
No.
I'm trying for something here, Sean.
No.
I'm trying for anything.
I know you're trying, buddy.
I'm grasping at straws. I'm trying to make you feel better here.
You're trying to find the good in this. Here's the problem.
Do you think the FBI could have made a case?
Yes.
Even so, and here's right. This is the shenaniganry of the whole thing. Even the FBI could make a case.
Yes.
This is the point.
Listen, I've made this analogy before. God. At least Capone got arrested on something.
Right.
It wasn't
it Treasury that made that case, though?
Yes.
Thank you.
But that ends up being at the end of the day, they couldn't get him on all the murders and all the other stuff that they knew he did.
Because the FBI was probably investigating that.
Right. Bootlegging, all this.
Right.
So they get him on tax evasion.
Right. It took another agency to do this.
But they got him on something.
Yes.
Because he was so goddamn corrupt.
Yes.
They knew he had to go for something.
So here's the deal. We want another federal agency to look at this. A competent one. What?
Who?
Like Treasury.
Maybe Treasury can go after her for the money
right.
with the Russians and the uranium.
Right.
And actually get her on something. The problem is you had an administration back then that wanted something done with Capone. Right now you have an administration that wants nothing done with Hillary at all. They want her to be the next damn president.
Of course they do. She's got the D next to her name.
I am just so... I'm so let down as somebody who...
It is so cute how shocked you are.
Look at my... Dude, if you look at my social media, I've changed all my avatars to the upside-down flag for a country in distress.
I know.
I believe we are.
I know.
I believe. I used to believe in the rule of law as being something that would hold this country together. And I used to believe that at the end of the day, even Director Comey was a fair person and would do the right thing.
I thought so too. I was hoping that would be the case as well.
Yes.
But look, I think that's the reason he came out and he laid out his case against Hillary.
Well, you can see him blink "Help me" in Morse code. I'm almost positive you can see that.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I have to confirm that, but that looks. So he lays out this. So I think that's why he did it. I think he was told. I was hoping he would be a man of integrity and honor to say, no, I'm not going to do that. Mm-hmm. But he didn't. Instead, he did lay out a pretty blistering case. He basically showed that Hillary was a liar time and time again in his recount kind of some of the high points and the investigation his points, basically making the case for the violation. Mm-hmm. But he mentions specific intent. This is not a specific intent crime.
Exactly.
So he lays out how grossly negligent she was. Which is part of the statute.
Yes.
But then turns around and makes a statement about intent.
Sí.
When there is no intent required for this crime.
Sí, señor.
Just gross negligence.
Sí, señor.
Which he proved.
Sí, señor.
But then he won't take it forward.
Sí, señor.
Because in his mind, a reasonable prosecutor wouldn't bring the case.
Well, and here's how I equate this to other people who are...
So was that code? Here's my question. I wanted to finish up my thought, so
Okay,
I
I'm
apologize.
sorry. No, go ahead.
My thought is this. When he said a reasonable prosecutor would not bring this case, or no reasonable prosecutor would bring this case, was that kind of like a backhanded slap at Loretta Lynch?
No.
Because he knew that she wouldn't bring the case, and so that was kind of his little jab at her,
No.
his little under the radar.
Well, it'll always give him deniability on the other side. That was that comment. That was a self-protection comment. I really believe that.
Yeah, but see, his job is not to figure out what a prosecutor would do.
Oh, I know.
His job is to present.
But he knew
the
it
case.
wasn't going.
Right. But you still present the case.
But he knew not.
He saved Loretta Lynch on this, and here's why.
Oh yeah,
I
because
think,
he didn't want to get the Arkansas flu like 47 others have.
Right. Or Hillary's already said that she might consider keeping Loretta Lynch as an AG.
Right.
That's not a conflict, is it?
Not at all.
And then he would be
especially
able to
when that was prior to
be retained as. So hang on, let's look at this. So. And then Bill is on the plane, and then after the plane, they talk. She says, "I'll accept whatever the recommendation is," and then the recommendation is nothing. And then a couple hours later, she's on a Air Force One. Yeah, it doesn't seem weird at all.
Yeah, not even at all bizarre. No part of this seems like it's full of shenanigans. Listen,
look, when you have Democrats
who are
saying,
pissed,
right? When you have Democrats saying, yeah, something's hinky here. I'm still going to vote for Hillary.
Right.
But something's hinky here.
Well, and I'll tell you right now, I think there's some Democratic lawmakers who didn't want her to get in office because they know the type of person she'll be the type of person who'll be like, hey, listen, you remember 25 years ago when I saw you making out with that girl at the party we held at the house? Yeah, before I tell everyone about that and it gets leaked to the press, you need to push this bill for me.
Well, how and you bring up an interesting point on vulnerability. Look, Comey said that it's possible hostile foreign countries hacked her email.
Mm-hmm.
What if she's compromised? How can she be president of the United States if it's possible that she's compromised? How hard would it be if she has been compromised? What if there's something in there that's easy to blackmail her on? Or what? Look, and this may sound far-fetched for some folks, but if she ends up being the next president of the United States and her email account probably had been hacked, how hard would it be for, I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, Putin, for example, to say, look, I need doorknob for a 9200 race car. And then after the race car, how's about I'm going to invade and you are not going to do nothing because I'm going to show this email here where it shows you have peanut butter love time with your Fluffy. I don't know.
With your Fluffy. Well,
but is she
susceptible?
There's
a couple points I want to make here real quick while you're on this subject.
Yeah.
First of all, I've tried to explain to people, because there are people out there who don't think what she did is a big deal. And I said, it is the equivalent, the gross negligence part for them. They're having a hard time understanding this. Picture like the Three Stooges, if you will.
I will.
Picture Curly coming out, in one of the many different skits that they did, coming out of the president's office as Secretary of State, holding a giant handful of files of top secret documents. And as he's walking back to his Secretary of State office, files are just randomly falling out. Right? They're just everywhere out in the street, all these top secret documents. Mm-hmm. Is he intending to disperse those documents? No. But is he being negligent on how he handles those documents? Yes. And that is, like you said, that is where the case law comes in on this. It is not a specific intent crime.
Right.
Number two, I said this on Jersey Joe's show this morning. After you are the specific nominee for your party, you begin receiving intelligence.
Yes.
And this isn't mine. Paul Ryan said this last night. I'm not trying to steal his thunder.
Yes.
But is it possible, but you have to be cleared first from the Director of National Intelligence.
Right.
And it is possible that she may not get that clearance based on her handling.
She shouldn't.
Yes, shouldn't. But if she does, you now have a complicit Director of National Intelligence who is not properly vetting who this information's going to.
Right. Well, then the House should take action on that.
The House should take action. I want to
We'll
ask.
get to that later.
Yeah, I was going to say I want to ask that.
We'll get to that later. But let's kind of lay out the timeline. And we did a little bit here, but let's look at what Hillary did. She has said over and over again, and I wish we had the clips to put side by side, but we talked about we had that idea to do it, but it's already been done
a million times over.
So we're not gonna duplicate that or try and claim it was our idea because
we didn't build that. So
we didn't. But Hillary has said, and you go back to her statements, I never sent or received anything that was classified on my email. We now know that was bullshit. She sent 101 things that were classified at the time that it was sent in like 52 or something like that, 52, 54 email strings. And then she changed it. Well, it wasn't marked classified at the time. Well, Comey came out and said, well, that's not necessarily true either. And the people who were sending and receiving this would have known based upon their positions that the information they were sending and receiving to this private server was secret, classified in nature. Some of it at the highest levels.
Right.
Literally. There were people she knew she was breaking the rules. She'd been told she was breaking the rules. She didn't care. She continued to do it anyways. She said it was only one device. We now know it was multiple devices that she was sending and receiving this stuff through. So, look, we know that there is a case there, and you brought up the gross negligence also. Look, you could talk about gross negligence also. Somebody is driving down the road, and perhaps they were arrested once for DUI. And now they are driving intoxicated again, and they get into a collision and kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they didn't go out with the intention of killing somebody.
Right.
But they exercised gross negligence because
Right.
based upon their past behavior, they knew that what they were doing was inherently dangerous.
Yes.
And as a result, they took that risk, knowingly took that risk, and as a result, bad things happened.
That's why almost every state has a gross
Yes.
negligence
Yes.
charge when it comes to death.
Yes, Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton knew that it probably wasn't a good decision to have a private email server. Now, she might not have gone and emailed these sensitive documents directly to Putin or whoever, but based upon her knowledge of systems and of the email that she had set up, it's easy to foresee that information would be compromised. Not to mention a violation of the stinking law.
Well, and you start talking about information confirmation. Look at, you have what's his name over at WikiLeaks just released 1,200 of her personal emails.
So obviously it's
been hacked. You had
right?
Gossifer or whatever his name was, the hacker who is not dead, by the way. There's reports going around that he has been found dead in his federal prison cell in Virginia. He has not been found dead in his federal prison cell in Virginia. But he said that and has released documents. We know it was all wording with her. She said, oh, none of these were marked top secret. Well,
that was a change in talking points.
Yes, because the ones you said weren't marked top secrets are the ones that you specifically said remove the top secret before sending it.
Right, but
that's actually the specific intent portion. So, Goosifer, that was it. But seriously, right? That shows specific intent when you say, hey, you know how to make this top secret not top secret? Remove the top secret heading. No!
Well, she changed it to marked at the time of sending after she said, I never sent or received anything classified. And then it
Verbiage.
was, marked that way. So
right.
even that changed.
But I don't understand for the life of me how anybody can look at Hillary Rodham Clinton and say, yeah, she should be president.
You know why? Because it's the same people, and we'll get more into this later, perhaps. It's the same people that are, well...
Pull the handle! Yay!
Right. Or not Trump.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
No, we are, but those are... Because what are they doing? And we're going to get more into that later,
right.
But it's those types of people. It's like the Democrats you hear say, well, yeah, what she did was shenaniganry of the highest level, but I really like what she's doing on infrastructure, or I really like what she wants to do with blah, name it.
Hey, you know what?
So I really think that they're looking at things the same way as we are for people who want to vote for Trump, in that, look, we're talking about the next 25 to 40 years of our country with Supreme Court nominations. Yeah, Hillary may be a freaking crook, and at some point may end up getting impeached. Who knows? But at least up until that point, she can appoint Supreme Court justices and set the tone of the country for where we want it to go.
Right. Even if she gets two through, the damage is done.
Right. And so I think that's the way some of them are looking at it. The intelligent ones. Some are just knuckleheads, and they're just like, oh, yeah, Hillary.
Well, and like I said, there are people who took Comey's statements the other day as an acquittal, if you will, to any wrongdoing.
Right.
They're not listening to what he said.
Right.
They're just looking at the
They're not looking at the 13 minutes up to the final minute or two.
Well, they're taking the mainstream media clips on this.
Right.
And they're not saying, direct to Comey, whatever his recommendation was, as we've said, essentially outlined all the different ways that she was in violation.
Yes.
And broke the law.
He outlined the case.
And his whole
Which
reason,
is exactly what how an indictment
well,
could,
it was
could
like
have
he
read.
was reading an indictment at the beginning.
Yes.
Which I was blown away by. And then for him to say, we are not recommending prosecution based on the fact that there has not been a case previously prosecuted of this type, which we can argue semantics on a couple different cases to tie it in. However, let's say, for the sake of argument, let's say it has never been prosecuted before. How do you begin a a case law or a case on how the baseline is to prosecute something? Every law that was passed eventually was prosecuted for the first time. Every state, federal, local law, on some point, it was the first time that it was prosecuted. It is okay to charge something for the first time. I don't know what the issue was with that statement.
But I think this has been charged before.
In other sort of ways, but he was very wise about that again, the way he said it. Based on this type of evidence, you're right. We've never had a Secretary of State use a server and was negligent in her operation of the server and transferred top secret information that could have been intercepted by foreign evil entities. You're 100% right, Director Comey. You nailed it right in the fucking head.
Right.
But there's been other breaches of electronic classified documents that have been removed illegally from government servers, one of which in Sacramento, Nishimura, that a Navy petty officer, or a Navy officer rather, who is
I think it was petty officer first class, I think.
Petty officer first class. And I heard somebody say, well, he pled guilty to that. Well, they had to charge him first.
Yes.
So he pled guilty after they charged him. I can't walk into a courthouse and say, Your Honor, I plead guilty. For what? Oh, you haven't charged me with anything yet, but I plead guilty. Hold on, we'll get right around to charging you.
Right.
No, there's an investigation done ahead of time. Then you bring those charges. The person gets arraigned as per our criminal justice system. And you know what? If they wanted to have a fair pass on this, send it to a grand jury.
Yes.
Send it to a grand jury. Look at what happened with in this country with the Michael Brown shooting. Ferguson, Officer Darren Wilson. Everyone was outraged. And the prosecutor did the right thing. Here's the evidence. Here's a grand jury of your peers. You return the documents. We find it to be non-conclusive. We did not pursue charges because it did not meet the requirement. Okay, game over. If they sent it to a grand jury and the grand jury kicked it back, no charges filed, okay, I may not be happy with that decision, but I would have a lot more respect for the system in place because it was a jury of her peers. I don't know where they'd find 7 Secretary of States, but like Madeleine Albright and Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice, and Mary. I don't know. Mary said in the chat room her peers would let her off. I don't think so.
I don't think Condi Rice would. I don't.
No, I don't think Condi Rice would either. I mean, just a whole bunch of people in a grand jury.
I honestly don't know if they would or not. But like you said, that's a lot more palpable than.
Yes.
Then
it's a lot more understanding.
Absolutely.
Because you've now said the system is doing the work. And this isn't the decision of one person who met on the plane with the person who was under investigation's husband on a tarmac in Arizona, who, by the way, she was also on his defense. I believe it was for Whitewater. Loretta Lynch was part of Bill Clinton's defense team on Whitewater. Oh, you didn't know that?
No, that shouldn't matter, Sean, because she's impartial.
I just can't understand how this was allowed to go down like this. And I can't understand. And listen, if you talk to people that know federal agents and you look at a lot of ex-feds that are doing interviews right now, the agents that are working on this are pissed. Pissed. Because they actually, all joking aside, the agents themselves returned the correct information. They did an investigation. There was wrongdoing found. They wrote all these reports and put it to their leader with the expectation that the right thing was going to be done based on his statements. And whatever you think of Comey right now, Comey up until this point was a good director of the FBI. I think that he did well. I think that he was leading that agency the correct way. I'm not a fan of the FBI, but it's going to get led. And I had respect for him. I thought he was an impartial guy until now. So you imagine these agents who busted their ass for what, 11 months?
Yeah, what's morale in that agency like right now?
Oh, my God.
Well, do they know enough at the FBI to feel like they shouldn't have high morale right now? Like, do they know enough?
Oh, yeah.
You think so? You're
yeah.
giving them a lot of credit tonight. I'm a little disappointed.
Because you know what? They're
Sean.
people. And I don't care what your job is. Well, they're human beings on some way. They're nerds, but they're human beings. Nerds are people too.
No,
it doesn't matter what your job is. When you work really hard in a project for an extended period of time, and you have a completion after months of hard work, and you hand that to your boss for whatever presentation, criminal, business, I don't care what it is. And your boss literally takes this giant stack of papers and goes, "You're right. After 11 months, you guys did the right job. We found out all the information we needed for this business proposal. I'm throwing it in the fucking shredder."
See, I really don't think Comey did that. Here's what I think happened. I think Comey took that stack of papers and looked at them and said, "Wow, you guys actually freaking did a decent job on this. This is not what I expected. I expected you guys to act like typical freaking FBI agents and not find a stinking thing. Now you've put me in a tight spot. Get out of my office." That's what I think happened.
We're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the Hilldog. Oh, God, there's just so much more to talk about this. I don't even know what to tease and what not to tease, so screw it. We'll talk more about Hillary here on the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying half of the stupid promo.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reverb Common Sense Show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live in the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Who knows how long we'll be able to do this for? And I mean that wholeheartedly. I said today, I was talking to somebody about this whole thing and just where this country's going. And I said out loud, I'm sick of sounding like the conspiracy theorist who's shouting craziness at the skies, or at the sky. But I feel that we're to the point that we are at a dramatic tripping point in this country.
And a tipping point.
What did I say?
We tripped a long time ago.
We tripped.
Yeah. we were talking about something on break, and I want to get to this, but when a local law enforcement agency does something that people don't agree with, the feds don't agree with, whatever, they're investigated.
Baton Rouge right now.
Right? The feds come in and we're going to look at stuff. You look at the Michael Brown case, whatever it is, federal government comes in and they're going to review the case, right? If FBI does a civil rights investigation on law enforcement officers. The DOJ comes in, takes a look, investigates the agency.
Yep.
They do all these things. I want to know who's going to investigate the FBI.
Right.
And the Justice Department.
Who's
going to hold them accountable?
Who?
Who?
Was
Congress?
Was there shenanigans here? How would we ever know?
Congress isn't going to do that.
Right. They're going to call him They're going to call
Right.
him tomorrow morning. They're calling Comey in front of him.
Look what happened with the IRS
in Benghazi.
Yeah, we're gonna bullshit. That's a direct quote from Congress. I think that was a clip we just played, and they're gonna do and they're gonna freaking grandstand and do their thing, and nothing is going to stink and happen.
Right.
Because that's what Congress does. You know what? I want to see another law enforcement agency with some balls, another federal law enforcement agency, investigate the FBI or investigate Loretta Lynch or investigate the Comey for this. I want another, and you know the only agency I know with the balls to do that?
Marshal Service?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The only constitutional, well, them and the Treasury Department, the only constitutional authorized.
Imagine if a state
agencies.
or local agency came in and picked this up.
Oh, yeah.
New York, somewhere in New York.
Yeah.
Hey, this server was in our jurisdiction. I need those files. We're going to prosecute her.
Yeah. We're going to go ahead and pursue this.
Well, you can't. This is federal. No, we have the right to have – we can charge federal crimes on a local level.
Oh, and by the way, here's a search warrant for all your shit.
Yeah. We have a judge who signed off on it.
Yeah.
Local can absolutely do that. Local authorities can charge federal crimes. In
No,
most cases,
they can't. They have to have a federal prosecutor, and if they're going to be viewing grand jury documents, they need to have a federal agent.
But they can investigate on a
search
federal
warrants.
level and recommend to their local prosecutor.
But their local prosecutor can't prosecute federal cases. It has to go to
No,
the
I meant
USDA.
local federal prosecutor.
Yeah, to the AUSA in that jurisdiction. So, yeah, but it's still working for the Justice Department. Come on.
But can you imagine if there's some local...
I want it in a state court.
Oh,
When
no,
the
I
feds
would
have
take the
nothing to do with it.
Right. So that was the point that we were making. Is
who's going to oversee them?
Nobody. That's the problem we have. When you have the hierarchy, and we know the DOJ...
I want some crusty deputy U.S. Marshal with balls this big to step up. I'm calling you out right now.
Oh, man. Oh, man. But the reality is there is no overseer past that level. It's supposed to be Congress who represents the people. But they have proven feckless and not doing anything that they should be doing. Look at when Holder was brought up in charges by the House.
Yeah.
The Senate did nothing. And Holder did not prosecute himself.
Right, but they could have impeached him.
Right, and they did nothing.
They did nothing. Exactly. So what can Congress do? I think Congress can appoint a special prosecutor.
Hold on. Everyone's saying Joe Arpaio. Okay, I understand.
He has to have jurisdiction.
He has to have jurisdiction. Unless something happened in Arizona, you would need somebody in upstate New York where the server actually was. So that would be like the caveat there. Yeah, I know Sheriff Joe.
Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, landed in Arizona in some
right,
county.
So
accessed her device.
Proved that she was there.
Right, accessed her device, and then took off again a couple hours later.
Hey,
Sheriff Joe, we know you listen to this show.
Jump on it.
Jump on
But
this.
you have to be able to prove that. We know her server's in upstate New York. So we know that's where the jurisdiction would be. Who obeys the law now? Not the Clintons on a federal level, to answer that question.
Right.
Average people have to. But here's the difference, and just so maybe we're not clear. If there's no jurisdictional boundaries, even if somebody prosecutes her, say there's a sheriff in Montana who's like, you know what, I'm going to pick this up. They charge her locally. She gets convicted locally. It'll eventually get appealed up to a federal or Supreme Court who's going to throw it out on jurisdiction. Whereas if upstate New York did it, whatever county that's in.
You'd have to draw that. You'd have to make that nexus.
Right. There's no way for them to throw it out on jurisdiction.
New York is not going to.
Upstate New York's pretty conservative. It's close. But the problem is you would need it would end up being a state prosecutor most likely, and the state agency investigating it. It would get thrown out.
So that would make my heart kind of sing a little bit, but it would concern me for this reason. Because if the situation were reversed, I think then we'd be running into the scenario where conservatives are charging liberals and liberals are charging conservatives in jurisdictions where they know they could get an indictment or where they know they can get a conviction. And that's a little problematic to me for a lot of different reasons. But
it brings us back to the argument
it brings us back to the argument
who oversees
the
federal government when there's wrongdoing.
Yes. How do you fix something that is fundamentally broken?
Right.
And the way you do that, and Congress doesn't have the balls to do it, but the way you do it is you impeach Comey and you impeach Loretta Lynch, although she's more insulated because she'd say, well, I just followed their recommendation. But you impeach Comey and you hire and you appoint a special prosecutor.
Right.
That's how you fix it.
Right. And here's the problem.
And you know what? I want to see Comey. I want to know what Comey's going to say tomorrow. I really wish we did a show tomorrow night. Because we're going to have to wait. And this is our last show until we're live in Vegas.
This is.
So I don't know if we're going to get back to this. We're going to have to make time for this, I think, next
we're going to have
sometime.
to follow up. Well, we're going to be live Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night next week. So we'll have time to get to this. By the way, we will be live next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night here.
And Saturday, right?
I think Saturday we're going to do afternoon because the event ends, and we'll be out.
Okay.
So, but yeah. That's from Freedom Fest next week. Make sure you check it out, freedomfest.com. We're pretty excited. And we will be on Tex next week.
Text?
Tex, the Exceptional Conservative Show, TECS.
Oh. I thought you meant like text messaging. I'm like, how are we going to do that live? That's like technology.
You all right now?
Yeah, I got scared because technology, but now I'm
No,
okay.
no. Now we're back.
So I can still pass you notes, like handwritten, like made into a paper airplane that I fly at you.
Oh, man. Hey, I wanted to give a shout-out to my friend from the East Coast, Pat Holland, who's actually listening on shrmedia.com. I believe he just enjoyed a camping trip. One of my favorite places to camp, North Woodstock area, New Hampshire. Beautiful time. My family's up there camping right now back east, but I don't know if he's listened to the show before. He's listening tonight, and I wanted to say thank you for that because he forced me to do it via Facebook. So
he forced you to thank him?
Yeah. So when
he's more ego-driven than us, and that's hard to do.
We'd get along very well with Pat. Pat would be a blast to have in studio. He's a good dude, really good friend of mine.
Pat, bring alcohol if you come.
He would bring a ton of alcohol if
Perfect.
he showed up.
You're welcome.
So we've discussed.
So I want to get back to Congress. You mentioned
that's where I wanted to go. Is Congress? Sorry.
So Comey has agreed to Congress's invitation. That's such a nice word. To talk tomorrow, and he's going in front of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. And look, there's a lot of lawmakers coming in, basically saying, "Hey, you basically laid out a strong case, and then said, yeah, we're not going to pursue anything." So Jason Chaffetz, a Republican out of Utah, he says, quote, "The FBI's recommendation is surprising and confusing. The fact pattern presented by Director Comey makes clear Secretary Clinton violated the law. Individuals who intentionally skirt the law must be held accountable. Congress and the American people have a right to understand the depth and breadth of the FBI's investigation." You know what? I don't want to just know the depth and breadth of the investigation. I want to know why the hell they didn't bring charges. And I hope Comey just gets hammered with that tomorrow. Just hammered.
Yeah.
And I hope he says something. I hope he's not going to, but I hope he says something if, hey, we have all of the evidence. If the House would like to appoint a special prosecutor, we'll be more than happy to turn all those documents over.
Right. Well, I would like to see Congress subpoena them.
I wonder if Comey's pissed.
I want to see Congress subpoena them and then release them under the Freedom of Information Act.
So it's no longer an ongoing investigation.
Exactly. And I understand they can redact any top secret information in there. And I don't even need to see the top secret information. It just has to be verified as top secret.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else I want to see. I want to be able to read it. And then you will know, one way or the other, if the investigation was truthful and fruitful.
Well, truthful and fruitful. Let's do a PRA tomorrow.
Okay.
That's easy. All right.
But I want Congress to pull those documents, and I want Trey Gowdy to go through
as the special prosecutor.
Yes. I want him to resign tomorrow and be appointed the special prosecutor on Friday. I would actually take that. As much as I would hate to lose Trey from Congress, I think that this case is so important that I would absolutely be okay with that.
I want Trump to be the special prosecutor.
Did you see today? So Hillary had a press conference. This is a total side note. Hillary had a press conference in front of a closed Trump casino in Atlantic City and talking about all the damage that he did to Atlantic City. And I said, can you imagine if Trump had a press conference from in front of Ambassador Stevens' grave and talk about all the damage that Hillary Clinton did in Benghazi?
Yeah, Hillary has to be very, very careful, right? Or in front of the consulate in Benghazi or the outpost in Benghazi, right? We're here to talk about all the damage that no, this would be priceless. Just a server. Just have a server sitting right in front of him.
That would be amazing. And have
if the Trump people
have
are
Chris
listening,
Paronto sit on top of the server for the entire speech.
yes.
And just be like, so behind me I have a server and Chris Paronto. I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just going to point to them one more time, and we're going to call it a speech and walk away.
Right.
It boggles my mind that she can, in front of a Russian embassy. I love the chat room suggestions. A server in front of a toilet. We could also do, you could do
like a server with a big reset button on the side of it.
Or just Putin.
Just Putin.
Can you imagine if he was like, so here's Putin sitting on a server playing catch with Chris Paronto in Whitewater, Arkansas. This doesn't even, here's the amazing part about this whole thing with Hillary. This doesn't even touch the book that was just released with the Secret Service on how she was treating people and what happened behind closed doors. I wanted to talk about that this week. We're not going to get into it. We're not going to be able to get to it. Her throwing books at Secret Service agents' heads, telling them not to look at her, carry her bags, all this other shit that shows what just an evil wench she is. And I'm already going to the gulag if she's elected. So I'm not going to hold back. And we can't even get to that. Think about if any other election, if one of the candidates, the top Democratic candidate, had a book like that released about them, or Republican. What an outrage. And rightfully so. What an outrage it would be. It's not even a drop in the friggin' bucket for the Hilldog. It's almost like she looks at like controversy and she's like, yeah, you know what, that was pretty good, but I can do better. Like, I really wasn't living up to my full bitch expectations on that one. So let me up the ante a little bit and do something even more badass and stupid. Oh, how about I lie about something that was on videotape about the time I ducked snipers when I was over in Bosnia? Oh, you have the videotape that proved that I was getting flowers and saying hi and hugging people? Yeah, that didn't happen. We just won't talk about that again. This is the woman.
Yes.
She repeatedly has been caught in lies. And she's still the Democratic nominee for all intents purposes. You have Bernie Sanders, who is allegedly everything against Hillary Clinton, who's come out and said, yeah, well, if she gets a nominee, I'll support her. What? First of all, Bernie, you should have dropped out a long time ago because you're costing taxpayers that you're saying you try to save $40,000 a day in protection. And that's not movement. That is just individual salary per day. So that's for starters. Number two, this woman, it's not like it was 5 Democrats. You're a socialist. She's a Democrat. Progressive, lunatic Democrat, but she's a Democrat. You're a devout socialist. So you say.
They're both socialists.
But when you turn around, well, she's a fascist. When you turn around and you say, even though she's everything I hate, I'm still going to support her because she's the nominee. You just showed your true colors, you old wacky asshole.
Whoa. Where'd McCain come into this?
No. We'll get to him later.
Okay. Oh, I thought that's who you were talking about. Because you called him by our code name.
But seriously, they have become, from sneaking things like Roger Clinton's convictions out the door.
Yeah. To right up in your face.
On the slide, these little kind of things that everyone kind of knows that has been allowed to go on, but everyone's kind of looked the other way because it hasn't been a big deal. To become more and more in your face about the corruption to the point now that you can release essentially an indictment list and have the leader of the FBI say, I'm not recommending prosecution, even though I'm going to tell you all the different ways she broke the law, and the Department of Justice Attorney General say, I'm not going to prosecute her, after she sat on a plane, and they knew she wasn't going to prosecute her because the same day Comey spoke, Hillary was already on a plane with Obama on Air Force One going to North Carolina. Obama knew what was going on, and if she was going to be indicted, he wouldn't have touched her. But he was already on the plane with her going to North Carolina. This is no longer just like Washington antics. This is pure in-your-face, outright corruption. And they don't care anymore who sniffs it or sees it.
You know why? Because nothing is being done. Nobody's going to do anything. Who's going to hold them accountable? We've already talked about this. It's not going to be Congress. Congress may shake their fist and yell and scream, but I don't think Congress is going to do anything because are they just as shady?
Yeah.
We have created an elite class in this country, which we were never supposed to have. And what's the way out of that? Look, states. You now have states that look. Have you seen hashtag Texit?
Yes.
And Calexit. That'd be a fun one. But California wants to leave because they're batshit crazy.
Calexit.
Yeah, I saw that.
They can't even come up with a good name in the state.
I know. Calexico. No, we can't call it that. That's a little too much. We'll call it Calexit first, and then we'll change it. And then we'll change it to Calexico. They want to leave for a whole different reason.
Northern Baja California exit.
Wait, what?
Good job. You guys are nailing this shit.
San Francisco. Wait, that doesn't sound right. It kind of fits.
We'll have to ask Sacco about that. But no, really, the slogan machine in California is broken right now for this thing.
Right.
How can you screw it up? Calexit. Oh.
So you already have states and petitions being circulated for. So look, it got such a push in Texas that the governor had to come out and say, "Oh, we're not going anywhere." The governor had to address it.
We'll see if that makes the ballot this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And listen,
right?
I know Dan Butcher, and Agado told me this, but Dan Butcher at High Plains Pundit. So there's like 11 states that now have organizations trying to push to secede from the country. I mean,
we are in.
We are going to cut early because the senator's calling in right at 9, so I want to take the break.
We are in bad shape, I think, in terms of how polarized we are as a country. And I know we've talked about this before. Is how do you bridge that gap? We are going two completely opposite directions. You know, like we said before, in the past, from the founding of our country and so on, we were going the same place. We knew where we wanted to go as a country. We just had differing ideas about how to get there. Right? Everybody wanted to beat the Japanese and the Germans in World War II. We may have had different ways to go about getting there, but that was a common goal. We knew that we wanted to have a constitutional, a representative republic from the time of the Constitutional Convention and so forth. But there may have been differing ideas on how we get there. Look at the debates in the Federal Convention, right? But we are going in just polar opposite directions right now as a country. And we're getting farther and farther apart. And I think so much so that the government, in this case, the Democrats, can just brazenly be out there on Front Street and knowing that nothing's going to be done. I mean, look at the scandals that this administration has been a part of and survived, right? Fast and Furious. You look at Benghazi. You look at I mean, name it, right? Eric Holder in the Justice Department. And what happens? Nothing. The IRS.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're up against a break. We have a guest calling in a few minutes.
Yeah. And Senator Ted Harvey joins us in a few moments. We'll talk more about Hillary at the Stop Hillary Pack on shrmedia.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello. I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying half of the stupid problem.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reverb Common Sense Show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live in the SHR Media Network. We're waiting for Senator Harvey to call in. When he does, I will bring him on live. Do you ever just feel like, I don't know, what's the words I'm looking for? It's almost like when you're watching somebody steal, but you don't believe it because it's so obvious. And you're just wondering if other people can see what you're seeing, like in a store, and you just see like the guy loading up a bag of like just...
Almost like you're wondering if there's a hidden camera on you.
Yes. Like, is this a joke, or is this really going on right now? I don't understand what the issue is. That's kind of how I feel right now. Like, everyone else is, like, angry. And don't get me wrong, they should be. And a few of us are outraged. Our circle is pretty outraged by this. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of, like, I'm mad, but it's not that big of a deal. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? None of us have talked about the fact that if some of the classified information contained CIA operatives or even Department of State personnel, individual information, in the world of ISIS conducting attacks, lives could be at risk through this breach.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of put it out there also. Well, what if she's susceptible now to blackmail?
Right.
If we have a president who had information out there that shouldn't be, that is going to she might make decisions based upon not wanting certain things to go public.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. No, I mean, what if, and listen, anyone else and I might be like, well, you know, what's the worst that could be in there? But we're talking about Hillary Clinton.
Right.
I mean,
right. That's kind of an open-ended question.
Right. And, you know, the possibility is that anything in that email could be perhaps bad enough that she could be blackmailed. On the other hand, and I'm going to try this Colorado senator as we speak, so if you hear the ringing, that's me. On the other hand, maybe she doesn't care. Like, maybe she's just like, I don't care if you see what's in here. I'm so corrupt, it doesn't really matter. You know? It's just not right. Hello? Hello?
I don't think he wants to talk to us.
It wouldn't be the first time.
You said something really offensive.
I hope not.
I'm guessing.
Hopefully he'll
this
call
is
back.
not going well for us.
I don't think that...
What did you say, Sean?
I'll give him a few more minutes and we'll move on. Everyone in the chat room... Ken said the jail would give Hillary street cred. That's very true.
This is true.
She would be.
This is true.
Can you just picture her? I have a couple of friends of mine who are prison guards, and they just talk about like difficult prisoners that they deal with, people who are on a life sentence and just don't care, and it makes their job very, very difficult. Can you picture being the prison guard for Hillary Clinton?
No.
Can you?
No, God, no. Absolutely not, Sean.
He would just be insane. Mrs. Clinton, it's yard time. And why are you throwing things at me? Stop. You can't keep doing this, Mrs. Clinton. This is also one of those cases when you talk about specific intent. And this is something that I've thought about too today. Whom would come for conjugal visits? Oh, boy.
Yes.
That was Ken in the chat room, as always.
Uh-huh.
This is something I thought. If you've been convicted federally of a non-specific intent crime, do you now have a chance to have it expunged and or appealed based on this finding? Because if the law is supposedly equal, and you now had somebody who there was clear evidence of a general gross negligence, and I'm thinking specifically...
Or a colonel gross negligence, or...
I'm thinking specifically of actually like Martha Stewart.
Okay.
Where they never really proved that she intentionally had IRS issues, if you will, and tax problems. But she did 3 years in a club fed in Connecticut for it. Mm-hmm. If you have been convicted federally or state and locally, because now it's a precedence, could you appeal based on this and have your case thrown out?
Why not?
And think about how many people that would encompass.
Yeah.
Think about how many people would no longer be convicted. It's actually scary to think. And there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of gross negligence involved in homicide cases, where you've had, you've had people who were grossly negligent and people died that was not their intent, but they've done 5, 10, sometimes longer in prison as a result. And you now, all of those are up for question. It's kind of scary to think what this precedent sets from the FBI and the fact that they chose not to prosecute in a case that should have been clearly prosecuted, based on just what we've seen. We don't even have the evidence. That's the amazing part.
But he outlined. He laid out
right, but
exactly
that's what I mean.
What their case, like, we don't physically have it, but he laid out.
But
what
he
the evidence
showed there's
is.
enough evidence to do so.
Right. That's why everybody's angry, and this is why I want to see a special prosecutor.
Right.
And I really hope that these hearings in the House aren't just a bunch of BS. I hope that these hearings in the House are not just
dog and pony show.
a bunch of hot air and people flapping their gums. I hope they get something. And Paul Ryan hasn't taken anything off the table. Matter of fact, he said, "Well, look, I'm not taking anything off the table in terms of how we're going to deal with this." But
I have no faith in Paul Ryan anymore.
If they don't appoint look, so you appoint a special prosecutor, and you go after, and if the special prosecutor doesn't make the case, and then okay. But how is Comey going to look, and Loretta Lynch going to look, if a special prosecutor comes in and gets a filing or gets a conviction?
Mm-hmm. Well, and we've talked about this a little bit just before the show. We now bring up the investigation with the Clinton Foundation. We know
nothing was said about that. Did you notice that?
It was very mum, and then
he did not
Paul
say
Ryan,
a word.
I think it was when Paul Ryan pressed Comey about it afterwards. He said, "I can't discuss that at this time." Not a denial, so that says that they're still opening that investigation, which is all well and good. But listen, we know how this goes down. You've seen this with some big businesses, right? When they get into trouble with the environment, EPA and some other places.
Well, it wasn't us.
It wasn't us. It was the secretary. Yeah, Janice, she misfiled this and it went over there and this other, and we never even saw it because of Janice. So how would we know that millions of dollars were funneled into us because of uranium deals that Hillary made with Russia? I don't even know how that would.
This doesn't even.
But Janice is right over there copying some papers. You should probably bring her to jail now.
Or talk to her about her gross negligence.
Oh, no, bring her to jail.
Oh, you can't go anybody just for gross negligence? Oh.
You could bring her to jail right now.
No, you couldn't. You know why? Because Janice didn't have the specific intent to do that. Even though she may have been grossly negligent, Sean, gross negligence no longer applies. What part of this are you missing here?
That's a very, very good point.
Yeah, thank you.
But we've seen it time and again where people have been just thrown under the bus.
Yeah. Look, I think all gross negligence cases should be thrown out. Right? All of them.
I can't even imagine how many that would be.
All of them.
I really can't imagine how many that would be. And that's the thing. So...
Oh, you left your dog in a hot car, and your dog died? Yeah, I'm not going to... Or gross negligence that you... Yeah.
You need to start now looking at the other reality is...
You didn't put a fence around your pool, and you let your 3-year-old jump on the diving board, and they fell in? Yeah, no.
But you also have to look at the fact that there are now 2 different standards for the law.
There's the Clinton standard.
Right.
And then there's the Sackhead standard.
Okay, so I'm blown away. Totally off subject, and I'm sorry. I'm going to get back on subject in a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, Rooster's in the chat room.
What?
Rooster. The infamous one. The infamous Rooster, one of our oldest and dearest friends on the Sackheads radio show.
Now, hang on a second. Are you sure it's not Hillary Clinton trying to hack our server?
Okay, I do have to check this. Because Jane Butcher, Dan's wife, popped in chat. But I know it's her because she was giving me hell about the Red Sox earlier.
If it really is, we're going to have to check the oil to determine if it really is Rooster or not.
Yeah. Rooster, give us a message and let us know for a fact that it is you. I need to know.
Give us a sign.
Because I'm not going to address you unless it's...
We need a sign.
Oh, he started off with gentlemen.
That doesn't... She could have hacked it.
She could have hacked
This
it. That's
could be
a very good
roostery.
point.
We don't know. This could be roostery.
I am looking all over the place. It has been so long, I don't even have the rooster intro anymore. Believe it or not. I don't know where it went. Sacco, I blame Sacco.
It's probably
for all
when
of this.
Sacco reformatted the board.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, gosh. I'm just blown away. You know, it's so funny on the night that Hillary doesn't, Rooster just shows up.
Right.
It's weird. It's almost like just before all this started with Benghazi and everything, Rooster disappeared. And now
that everything's blown over.
Rooster, is your first name really Bill?
Roostery comes back around.
Is his name really Bill? Was he busy for the last couple months? Did you meet Loretta on a tarmac somewhere, Rooster?
M-E-E-T, not M-E-A-T. Although with Bill, it is possible.
Either one is possible.
Yeah, we don't know.
That absolutely was Rooster, who had a show with us here on SHR.
What if, and hear me out on this, we have no evidence of this yet, but we are following up on this lead. What if it was like the scene from Kingpin, where Bill was like, we really don't want you to file charges. And she's like, there's something you can do for me. And like Bill is just in the head, just thrown up. And she says, I think you jarred something loose.
I think you jarred something loose. Always great to have Rooster back with us.
Welcome back.
Yep, and it's a pleasure.
We're going to call him Cotter.
Welcome back, Cotter. So before Rooster came in, we were discussing the fact that there is now two different standards.
Where is this senator?
I don't know. But there's two different standards now.
We might have to weigh in on his campaign. Go ahead. Because
you now have the elite standard and the average person standard.
Right.
We've talked about this before. Look at True the Vote and Catherine Engelbrecht, how much they went through when the IRS targeted them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the Hillary case and the fact that nothing has been done. It shows you that the average person is more accountable than an elitist. And by the way, if you're a Democrat, if you are a Black Lives Matter person, if you are a progressive person, et cetera, this is what white privilege looks like. Is Hillary Clinton is the face of it. Because I just heard from his PR. Okay, the time change got everybody screwed up, and he's actually double booked. And he's actually was on from 8:45 our time to 9:30 on a show out of Florida, and we're getting his sincerest apologies. And I appreciate that. I'm getting a message right now. So
thank you for letting us know, and we look forward to booking you at 9:30 then, it sounds like?
Yeah, well, and how many times have I screwed up the time change thing? I mean, let's be honest.
Listen, you're from
Twice
Boston.
this
You're
week.
from Boston, and even you can get this straight, okay?
No, I can't.
This is not true. Quit trying to bail them out.
Do you remember back when we were doing Florida congressional candidates? And I booked two of them at like 7 o'clock in the morning our time instead of 7 at night or whatever it was. So I have been victimized of it. And then you start looking, by the way, Tammy J on Barbed Wire released another installment of the 47 Bodies of Hillary Clinton. So barbedwire.com, you want to check that out. But you have to start looking at how she's been treated her entire life. And the fact that you go back through Whitewater and all this other stuff, the Clintons have been the most notorious crime syndicate I think this country has ever seen. And I'm not being facetious when I say that. You look at everything they've been involved in and accused of that they keep ducking. Yes, is every single accusation a reality? Absolutely not. But when there's smoke, there is fire. And when you have the same family get repeatedly accused of insane things. I mean, look at Bill was impeached.
Yes. People forget that.
He
was not convicted, but he was impeached.
He was also found
I think McCain voted against his conviction.
I think so, too. I think he also perjured himself.
Yes.
Legitimately. So this is the Clinton family. But this, more importantly, this is the Obama administration. You went through an administration that hates Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. There's no love there. There is no love there whatsoever, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
But the ideology is so important. And the fact that he knows his policies will continue. And that is so much more important than anything else.
Yes, because that's big picture to them, right?
Right.
Just like we talked about earlier. That's big picture to them. They're seeing the Supreme Court. They're seeing the direction set for the country for the next 25 to 40 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
That's more important than this email scandal. Hey, don't do it again. You screwed up. Yeah, okay, I won't do it again when I'm president. Honestly, I really think that's what they're looking at here. But something else interesting that came out this week also, and you have to ask yourself why. I mean, you know why. But why is this happening? The State Department, after all of this crap, the State Department is going to court trying to get the federal judge to delay the release of the Clinton Foundation emails for 27 months.
Ironically,
the State Department wants this delayed, and the Justice Department goes in on their behalf and requests this. So after they're not going to file charges against her, after Comey lays out a case and then says we're not going to recommend the charges, they're then going to go in and say, hey, you know what? We want the release of these emails put off 27 months.
Amazing. It's almost like, let's see, the Benghazi investigation where they lied about things up front in order to buy themselves time to get into an election cycle so Obama would get reelected. And then the truth came out, but it doesn't really matter because there's no outrage anymore because Obama was still elected. That's kind of strange because it shows me it's business as usual.
And look, if this gets granted, then that means these documents wouldn't be released until late of 2018, like October, November, somewhere around there. More than what? 2 years, almost 2 years into her first term, if she gets elected president. And
just
long enough for her to be established in office, and long enough away from the next election to where it's
potentially get you the House and the Senate if the Democrats go on the attack and are able to get those back, and it gives time to have retirements out of the Supreme Court and get 2 nominees before a potential impeachment.
Yeah, but I don't think she'd get impeached, right, on that.
Well,
because if this is from if this is from conduct that occurred outside of the presidency.
But it was while she was in an appointed position.
Not while she was in office. Yeah, but she's not in that position anymore.
Right, but you could still file charges against her.
You could file charges against her, yeah.
So if she is convicted of a charge, then she could be therefore impeached.
Yeah, but it'd be her Justice Department.
Yeah, but it would also – but if Congress impeaches her –
I don't think they can impeach for conduct that she committed while she was in another office.
If she gets convicted, they could impeach her.
Yes, but
because that's why
Nixon.
It's her
Justice Department.
Look at what happened to Nixon. He was never even impeached officially.
He was never impeached. Yeah,
but they had enough documentation where it forced him out.
Right, he resigned.
And you could have that with Hillary.
Yeah, you think she'd leave? No way. Look, if she got out of this.
Yeah, but if she got it, say she had to get out after 2 years, and she has, I don't know, Elizabeth Warren as her vice president.
Yeah, whoever. It doesn't matter, right? Because the damage is done. I think the Dems just want to win this election.
Right. They don't care how.
If they win this election,
the other
is
thing
done.
that I think you will see ramp up very, very quickly in this election, because of all this, is the voter intimidation.
Mm-hmm.
I think voter intimidation is going to be huge. I think you will now see groups like Acorn did with Obama's election start to get out. I already wrote on Facebook the other day, we as conservatives need to completely flood the polls all the way around. And I don't care. I said earlier, I'm not necessarily pro anyone, but I'm definitely against Hillary. Mm-hmm. But we need to flood the polls. And if for some reason Ted Cruz comes out the nominee for the convention, if they pull shenanigans, if those delegates unbind, and it's Ted Cruz, or even, God help us, Kasich, or somebody else, that's a fight we need to have after the election. And I hate to say it, but that's where we as a party need to buck up. Now, I think it'll be bullshit, and I think that I will absolutely step away from the GOP for good, and a lot of other people should too. Not because of it being Trump, but because of the principle of things and the way they did it. They would change the procedures to be essentially mirror the Democrats, where they could pick whoever they want via superdelegates. That's the thing. But that is a fight that we would have November 20th.
And I want to get to the delegate issue after the break,
right?
About with what's happening with that. But I do want to talk about one other scandal kind of dogging Clinton, and it's kind of a back page. But a judge actually made, that was U.S. District Court Richard Leon, made an interesting judgment today. The AP filed a Freedom of Information Act request back in 2013. What they were seeking was emails and memos and so forth involving a U.S. portion of the British company BAE Systems,
mm-hmm.
and it's the AP sued when the State Department said, basically we're not gonna give you those records. What happened is BAE and this they pled guilty in 2010 to a criminal count of conspiring to make false statements relating its business dealings with Saudi Arabia and arms deals and so forth. And under that, the U.S.-based subsidiary company should have lost its ability to engage in business here. It was under the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. They paid a $400 million fine. Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, was briefed and knew that this company was allowed to continue doing business in the U.S. during her time as Secretary of State, including, I believe, bidding on government contracts and keeping its U.S.-based business. And she knew about this, so allegedly. And this judge basically said, no, you will produce those documents. I'm going to quote the judge. He says, quote, "Tell your colleagues at the State Department, weekend trips to Nantucket should be off the table. They should be rolling up their sleeves to get this done." I love this judge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So here we go again, right? Hillary Clinton, knowing that these folks are out there, they shouldn't be engaged in conducting business, and we'll let that go. Illegal payments to Saudi Arabian officials related to arms deals. Yeah, we'll let that go.
But it's not a big deal. Listen, we all know Hillary's never done any. Good point.
Thank you.
I want to close the door on Hillary for the most part after the break, but I do want to talk about.
Are we going to leave the back door open?
We're going to leave the back door open.
She usually does.
No, she doesn't. That's a problem.
How do you know?
I do want to talk really quick after the break about the election and not voting and what an issue that is, and why we have to flood the polls nationally, but also in California, because there's going to be things in the referendum. And this
when you say flood the polls, you're not talking to
stripper polls?
Yeah, you're not talking to women that have bad relationships with their fathers, right?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
I just want to make sure.
I would say grease the polls.
Because we're okay with that.
I would say grease the polls at that point. Right. That would be a grease the poll type of thing. Right.
Not okay.
Flooding the polls.
Right. Different.
But don't leave the back door open. Somebody, good advice. Thanks. Important safety tip. Thanks, Egon.
Was that
White Mamba?
Okay. I didn't know that was Rooster.
No, Rooster's arguing about why he's not going to vote for Trump.
No, he's not.
Yeah, in the chat room at shrmedia.com right now if you want to go talk to him. But
talk to him. Talk to him.
But it's also a big deal in California. But I also think California's referendums that are going to be on this ballot in November may be the Democrats' undoing in this state. And I just want you to think about that for a few minutes.
All right.
Their own referendums may be their undoing in this state, which is why the state assembly passed these gun bills that I want to talk about after the break as well.
And which is why the governor signed, 6 out of 10? Or
quick.
Right.
Oh, yeah, there was no...
Why he signed, and he's been more pro-gun.
He gets a B overall from the NRA. Right. He was getting a B, dropped to a D this month.
Well,
weird how that happens, huh?
Yeah, at least not an F. Good job, Jer.
Yeah, way to get the D, Jer.
Yeah.
So, it's funny, I thought it was Newsom. We'll be back.
I want to talk about these never Trump yahoos, too. We talked
Well,
about
I want to
that
do
already.
all that. It's all going to tie in together.
All right.
So I want to do all that and more here on the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying cow for the stupid pro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver Common Sense Show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR.
Thank you.
Media Network.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I was thinking of the listeners as well, but that's fine. I'm glad that
I'm listening. I'm a listener. I download.
Some things will never change,
Uh-huh.
and I appreciate that. Hey, you can get us on iTunes yet again. And I know I said that last week, but if you listened to us on iTunes for a long time and you had to get away because of the download issues, we've resolved that.
Did you say the down low issues?
Down low issues. Also, Annie shows Southern Sense is back live on SHR Media every Tuesday and Friday.
Awesome.
So make sure you check that out.
She's
got iTunes
she is
as
awesome.
well. I love Annie. She's great.
Yep.
So good things. Next week, we will be at Freedom Fest, Las Vegas. It seems so bizarrely far away.
It does.
But we get on a plane a week from today and shoot down to Vegas.
Yes. No, Tuesday.
Right, Tuesday. And we're going to see Ken. The Underground Professor is going to be there, I'm being told.
Uh-huh.
So I'm really, really excited. So there's a lot of good things going on. Sacco is supposed to be there Friday and Saturday.
Sacco might make an appearance.
Also on English Defense League Radio tomorrow, Agador will be on at 3:30 Eastern. So make sure you check that out. Great show. He's doing a special on 7/7, the bombings in Britain. So if you have a chance, please check that out because that was Britain's 9/11.
You know, last year we had some. Look, there was remember Katie Kiefer?
I do, young author.
Yeah, great author.
Wrote about millennials.
Yep, we had an awesome interview with her. I think she's going to be there again. I'm sure.
I think so.
We all remember. I think Sacco remembers her.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he helped out, so that was good.
She's awesome. So I hope we run into her again. Some of the other authors that were there, and just.
It's an awesome time. Freedom Fest is so fun. I can't even begin to tell you. Yeah, and
Alan West. Sacco had a love affair with Alan West, I think.
How could you not?
No, I do too.
And I think
I'm not judging the man for it.
I think Alan's going to be there again this year, and hopefully we'll get more time. So I wanted to talk a little bit. We were talking about the Never Trumpers, and I want to get into that. But first, let's talk about California. So California this past week, Calexico, as it will forever be known.
Once collects it, actually.
That's enough of that. So
come on.
So they passed 6 out of 10 of the gun laws that they proposed.
Mm-hmm. Signed into law.
Governor Newsom has a whole litany.
No. Lieutenant Governor.
Lieutenant Governor, soon to be Governor Newsom.
Lieutenant Governor
has a whole other list of.
You say that because you know lieutenants run things.
Gun control referendums on the ballot.
Right. I think one of them is like no squirt guns.
Yeah, nothing. No Pop-Tart guns.
Yeah.
No pop guns.
No pop guns.
No exposed guns and a tank top.
Right. I'm pretty sure that is one.
You have to license those guns from now on, so I would have to get my license.
Yeah. It's a learner's permit.
It's a learner's permit. I would need like the elderly license where you can only drive during the day. So, but some of the guns
and there's like clip laws, like no nipple clips. I think is one.
No extended nipple clips. But that was for San Francisco or whatever that was.
So yeah,
whatever state that was. No, but some of the laws that they passed that they were signed were. Even if it was a pre-banned weapon, you can no longer have any magazine over 10. So private property that was owned for you for years, that was bought and purchased legally, the government of California now says you have to turn in, or it will be a felony.
Are they going to compensate for that?
No, they're just going to steal the property.
Huh.
Through the rule of law. That's weird.
Huh. There's going to be no compensation?
None.
I didn't think the state could take personal property without just compensation.
No, they can.
Oh.
Apparently.
Oh.
At least till it gets... Well, then it'll go to the Ninth Circuit, so then they'll say yeah, and then if Hillary gets in...
So anybody that has any of those
right.
should get a receipt from the law enforcement agency, right? Outlining
claims court.
Specifically, right, and then maybe go to small claim, or just waiting for the law to be overturned and...
go back and get it, and then if not, they have to be reimbursed. And then
Right.
will they be allowed to then go and purchase another one in lieu of that? Because the initial property, so say they turn it in and law enforcement destroys them, as they do with
As
weapons.
contraband.
Right. And then all of a sudden the law is overturned, but the law in the book says has to be a pre-banned weapon. If it is no longer a pre-banned weapon because you've already turned that item in, are you going to be then allowed to?
No, they'll pay you. They should have to pay you.
Yes, but can you now replace that extended magazine? Because that was the property that was taken. So not just purchase, but will they illegally now allow you because you had one before and they've taken it away?
No, of course they're not going to do that.
Exactly.
But they should.
So that was one of them. California, if you have a
Bullet button.
Yes, if you have a rifle that took a bullet button, which was essentially AR-15s for the most part.
Have you seen the guy that already had the workaround?
Have the workaround. I want to talk about that. So the state of California, it used to be you had to flip top your AR and load. Your box had to be welded on, your box magazine.
Right.
And load it. And
Top load.
Top load. I mean, like, archaic idea. So then the Democrats, because they knew that the conservatives in the state were about to uprise, put it on a referendum to it completely. They came out with this bullet button idea. They developed it.
Yeah.
Where you need to use a bullet or something long to push in and release your magazine. That was their idea. In order to, in their opinion, slow an active shooter who's
and that
reloading.
has worked wonders in California.
San Bernardino was
yeah,
awesome.
no, it's worked wonders, and there has not been a single case where anybody has had magazines where they were easy to dump.
So anyhow, onward and upwards. So now they've turned around and they've outlawed any weapon with the bullet button again. So if you have a bullet button, you have to register it with the state of California if you bought it prior to 2017 for a little fee of $20 times how many thousands of weapons. And amazingly, I want to know where that money's going to go. Because if it went to fight crime, I'm not happy with the law, but at least the money's going to a good place. But it's going to go to the general fund to help some criminal learn how to underwater basket weave in federal prison or something stupid shit that they'll do in this state. And now you've gone back to having to have a welded-on box if you buy an AR-15 afterwards. If you do not register your weapon, it's a felony. They also, in order to purchase ammunition, you now have to go through a background check at $25 a pop. So think about that. Every time you go to buy ammunition, there will be a $25 fee to go through your background check that you will have to pay every time. So you either buy bulk or you can't afford it. Here's the funny part about this. I think one of referendums that's on the ballot is to limit how many bullets and rounds of ammunition you can maintain in your house. And I want to say it's somewhere around 2,000, maxed out. Well, that's not a lot purchasing-wise. If you think about it, if you're going to have to buy bulk now because it's costing you $25, usually if you buy out a canister of rounds, it's going to be $500. So that's only 4.
Yeah, and I'll go through one of those at a range. Easy.
Right. Easily. And then there was a couple other ones that weren't as bad. Anywho.
At least they didn't say all rifles with detachable magazines.
Yet. Lieutenant Governor Newsom has a referendum on the ballot. 4 other ones, I believe, maybe 5. Essentially, AR-15s would go away. Altogether in the state of California.
Yep.
Anything over 10 rounds is done, but I think there was some law in there to limit how many magazines you could keep or something ridiculous. So you have that and a couple other laws. But here's the reason why the state assembly and Senate moved so quickly. They realized that this could draw the conservatives in California to the voting booths. Most people don't realize the conservatives in California don't show up to vote because they feel like they're outnumbered and they're just so turned away.
And they are.
But they haven't come out in droves in a long time.
Right.
And they actually have enough numbers to do something. They could steal a couple specific places away. The Democrats in the state, especially on a senatorial level and a federal level, are petrified of that. Because now, by putting an anti-gun on the ballot, you're drawing those conservatives to the voting booth, and they're going to say, well, while I'm here, let's start voting for all these other things, including presidencies. And we've talked about before, there's been redistricting in Southern California that have turned former Democratic districts into conservative districts because of the redistricting that went on. So while Governor Newsom or Lieutenant Governor Newsom is so set on the fact that he's going to try to win his election in a year and a half, 2 years rather, and push this through, he's cutting off his nose politically to spite his face.
Good.
Absolutely good. But that's why the Democrats rushed to try to pass these laws, and not all of them passed. So Governor Brown vetoed a bunch of them because he's taking care of Newsom, who he expects to replace him by allowing his referendum bills so he can run on them. But what neither one of them actually fears the amount of conservatives that may come out to vote. We were talking about Hillary earlier, and we're talking about flooding the polls. California, you may actually see the polls flooded in November for the first time in years because of that referendum. Because when it comes down to it, I don't care if you're a middle-of-the-road conservative, a hard-right conservative. When it comes down to gun control...
And even some Dems.
And even some Democrats. When it comes down to gun control, that's where it hits you at home.
Yep. Literally.
Literally. So you absolutely could draw them out. So we talk about Hillary. And we talk about the convention coming up. And if they pull hijinks, whatever. I beg of you, listeners, whoever the nominee is, and if it's somebody else than Trump, if it's Trump, whatever, we need to flood the polls.
For that person.
For that person. Because we've seen in the last two elections, the Democrats rig polls. We've seen it. Right? We've had districts in Philadelphia that were 103% for Barack Obama, while his picture was hanging up in the polling place.
Nobody.
Nothing was ever done.
Right.
Chicago. All these other areas that are notorious voting fraud. These small percentages, 2, 3, that get added, and it's not till afterwards that they're questioned. We need to be able to overcome that gap by 6, 7, 8%.
Look, I know there's a push right now, and there's a push to go to court from the Never Trump people in order to unbind delegates. I have a couple thoughts on that. The rules were in place this election. You didn't like the outcome. You don't get to go to the frickin' courts and cry ass like the Democrats do because you don't like something. You were elected or you were sent based upon the rules. You signed up to be a delegate or were selected or whatever the hell it is. You knew the rules going into it. The voters decide. Otherwise, what's the frickin' point of having a primary? If the parties are just going to pick whoever the hell they want or allow delegates to quote-unquote vote their conscience, could you imagine if our electors did that for the Electoral College? And I understand it's two separate systems, but it's a slippery slope, right? If we allow that now, what could happen then? The Democrats are fucking crooked. There's a reason they choose their delegates the way they do, and they have super delegates and everything else, so they can put in whoever the hell they want, and the will of the people be damned.
Ask Bernie Sanders.
We're better than that on the Republican side. At least I thought we used to be. Obviously not anymore, because nobody's taken this jackass to task. Look, I am not a pro-Trump guy. I'm not a pro-Ted Cruz guy. I am a conservative guy. I am a anti-Hillary guy for sure. And if this anti-Trump movement gains steam and these people stay home, and look, Hillary's going to get elected. And much like I'm guessing the Democrats are reacting to this whole Hillary thing of hey, we're still going to vote for her because the Supreme Court is really the end game. we as conservatives and as Republicans need to keep our eye on that ball also. You may not like Trump. First of all, Trump didn't do anything like Clinton did.
Right.
Allegedly. Right? So you may not agree with absolutely everything he stands for. You may think he's an asshole. And you know what? Maybe he is sometimes.
And you know what? It's our own fault for not putting up a more viable candidate.
Right.
It is what it is.
And I'm also not saying that he's going to be a horrible president or a great president, because I don't know. I can tell you I think the man's smart. He got to where he is not by being a complete buffoon. You may not like him on a personality basis, but big deal. You know, he's not throwing books at Secret Service agents' head that I know of. So we have to be very, very careful what we wish for here and what you're doing, because much like you said, cutting off the nose to spite the face, that Newsom's doing in California, that's what some of these never Trump people are doing, who are so-called conservatives. Mm-hmm. They're going to mortgage the future of the country, literally going to potentially shit can the United States based upon by giving up or allowing the Supreme Court to be given up and to be taken out of play because they don't like Trump. Look, conservatives, we usually play by the rules. Typically, we play by the rules. We bitch when the IRS targets people, when they rig elections, when there's voter fraud, when there's all these other things, when criminal aliens are here illegally because they're not following the rules. We complain about that. Mm-hmm. When the left protests,
they believe in the rule of law.
Yes. When the left protests, they destroy property. They shout other people down. They prevent people from exercising their First Amendment rights. They demand everybody else is tolerant of their intolerance. On the right, we're not like that. Typically.
Not supposed to be.
We're not supposed to be. So why are we going to start that now? We're not going to get our way, so we're going to say never Trump and fuck the country.
Mm-hmm. Penny wise and pound foolish. Get over the emotional aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm talking direct. I'm sorry, Sean, to interrupt, but I'm pissed on this one. I'm talking directly to those jackasses that are trying to go to court to say, oh, well, yeah, you can vote your fucking conscience. Pardon my French. Mm-hmm. It's not your job to vote your conscience.
Right.
As a delegate.
Right.
Do your job.
Right.
Right? Soldiers, men and women in uniform, firefighters, cops, they have to swallow their personal beliefs a lot of times to do their job.
Doctors sometimes.
Whoever it is. Teachers, whatever. Do your freaking job.
Yeah.
Follow the rules that were laid out. If you don't like those rules, then go about and change them the right way.
I agree.
Don't be like the Democrats and establish case law to get around. And think big picture.
It's one of those things, in my opinion, that you have to put your emotional pride to the side. Yes, your candidate didn't get chosen. And I'm sorry. But you know what? There's a reason he didn't get chosen. Or she didn't get chosen. You have to suck it up.
My candidate didn't get chosen.
4 years from now, put up a better candidate. And I want a better candidate. Don't get me wrong. I always want a better candidate. And it doesn't matter if I like this president or not. I want the next one to be better. I want the next one to be more constitutional. I want the next one to understand liberty. However, we're at a crux of liberty and tyranny, with the threat of Hillary Clinton in the corner. And if Bernie Sanders can sway even half his people to vote for Hillary, and we are split because of the never Trump people, yeah, I don't agree with everything that Trump says either. But there's a bigger threat. We are so worried about the piece of meat that we're fighting over, we're going to drown in the flood that's coming.
Yeah.
We're not looking at the bigger threat.
Yeah, you like your Second Amendment? You like your First Amendment rights? Do you like your ability to exercise religion as you see fit? Do you like the ability to say what's on your mind? Do you like what? Or do you like having transgendered bathrooms everywhere? And do you like having your church be held to those standards, even though it's against their beliefs, and being told what the church can and cannot say, and turning over copies of ministries to the government. Remember when that came down? Is that what you like?
Remember when the FCC
Yeah.
was about to put monitors in every newsroom?
Yes.
To decide what would go out and what would not?
Net neutrality.
All these things.
2A.
We are at the
That's
point
probably
right
the biggest
now
one, I think,
where the bigger threat is Hillary Clinton. I wrote an article I mentioned earlier called I'm Sorry, Mr. Franklin, where it responded to his statement of, we have a republic if you can keep it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel right now, based on everything that I see, that the Never Trump people are going to fuck this country. Hard. I think they're going to split it out. I think there's going to be complete chaos at this convention. You're going to get somebody like Kasich. And it's going to be a Kasich. It's not even going to be a Cruz. Because remember, the GOP doesn't like Cruz. They only got behind him when Trump started winning because they were hoping he could at least undo Trump. Mm-hmm. They don't like Cruz.
No.
So you're going to get a Kasich or somebody like that who's now has to start his campaign in the middle of July and hope to beat in November by a group that has drones who are going to walk in no matter what and pull the fucking handle for Hillary Clinton because they don't care what she did.
Did you see Wreck-It Ralph?
Yes.
Do you remember the cybugs? The bugs that just went to the light.
Yes.
That is the voters for Hillary Clinton.
And they'll get it. And they will absolutely get it. Just like Obama got the black vote. I want to be the person to help vote in the first black president. Hillary's going to get that female vote on the left. And there is 51% of this country is female. She's going to get that vote. There are going to be people who want to see. I want to see the first female president.
Because that worked out so well for us last time
They don't
around.
give a shit. Short memories.
I know.
And then she goes in. And the damage that she's done, we've seen how corrupt she is. She's going to get 3 Supreme Court justices. I honestly feel that she's going to get elected. And we're done as a nation. And I'm not trying to be overly dramatic, and I'm not trying to say the sky is falling. But I don't see any sort of leadership on the right pushing for unity. I see them say on one hand we should be unified, and on the other hand slam the nominee on shit that's minimal. But you don't get that on the left. Everyone supports Hillary no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to say it, Hillary could walk on stage and literally chop a head off a kitten. And Democratic pundits would defend her.
That's her First Amendment right of freedom of expression.
And
that's what they
on
would
the
say.
Right, oh, it's abhorrent, blah, blah. Yeah, you know what? Some of the things that Trump says is an asshole thing to say.
Yes.
But you're comparing a lifelong criminal who's just never been convicted versus a business guy from New England, from the Northeast that's kind of an a-hole. And people look at him differently for it. Does that mean he's the most conservative guy out there? No. But he gave us a list of who he would elect for the Supreme Court. Or nominate, rather. Hillary hasn't done that. She hasn't had a press conference since December where she's taking questions. Think about this. Think about it long and think about it hard. I think of Reagan's speech talking about the communists. We can preserve this, the last great hope of man, or sentence to our children to 1,000 years of darkness. Back then it was the communists. Now it's the socialist progressives. The threat's only internal. And I believe it to be a threat. I really do. I believe our Constitution will be stripped top to bottom. This show, should Hillary Clinton get elected, I guarantee you I will not have the right to do this show in 2 years. And they won't say I can't go out with my free speech, but they will overregulate online shows like ours so much that we won't be able to afford it. guns. It's going to be like Australia. They're going to literally demand everyone turn in their guns. And if you think I'm kidding, I'm not. They've nudged it to the point where they can almost go for a grip. They've gotten the outrage. They've turned around and used all of these atrocities with guns to anger Americans. And instead of blaming the cause, they blame the guns. And they have their drones who are absolutely in a tizzy. Look at Matt Damon in Australia today. I think we should unilaterally ban guns and have the government come and confiscate them all. Says the guy who makes all of his money off of gun movies. Because he knows he will be allowed to have armed protection. He's an elitist. Hillary's an elitist. All the people that push for that are friggin' elitists. They have their protection. We still have ours. But for how long?
It depends on the Supreme Court nominees. And really, the rulings of the lower courts. Look, the Ninth Circuit just ruled on a 2A issue in California, and we talked about this, and it would be a 4-4 split if it went to the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court, which means the lower court's ruling would stand, which means the Ninth Circuit, the most overturned court in the country, their decision would stand on 2A right now. That's how important it is. And for those of you that missed it, they just had a decision that came down and said the Second Amendment does not extend to your right to defend yourself in public in terms of concealed carry. That's weird, folks. I didn't know my right to self-defense ended at my front doorstep.
The boot to the neck is being put on right now.
Yep.
And they're tying the laces. And we're either going to allow our necks to get stomped on, or we're going to fight back. And if we lose in November, God help what the future brings for this country. Folks, that's it for the Sackheads Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining us this week. 1 week from tonight, we will be in Las Vegas, Nevada for Freedom Fest 2016. We're going to completely interrupt Ken's show while we're out there because it's
we
Ken's
do that.
show and we can do that.
It has nothing to do with the fact that he's black. I'm just going to – I can't even call you a bigot that time because it has nothing to do with it.
Exactly. It's because we're going to be there.
Right.
And so many – go to freedomfest.com, look it up. Make sure you check out all the great shows on the Sackheads Radio Show. Check out English Defense League tomorrow as they do their 7/7 show. Jersey Joe first thing in the morning or on the West Coast, in the afternoon on the East Coast with the Reaver Common Sense and all the other great shows here on the Sackheads Radio Show. 6 o'clock tomorrow night East, 9 on the West. The exceptional one himself, the most awesome, darkest conservative I can think of, Ken McClinton on the Exceptional Conservative Show. We will talk to you live from Las Vegas next week. Have a great night. Take care.
Hell no, to the no, 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 hell to the no.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sack you.
Radio.
Sack you.
Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.